Good morning, everyone. I hope you guys are all having a blessed day. Mine's going pretty good. Had a great Christmas. Had all the family over. We must have had 15 people in this little house, but my wife pulled off a really good dinner and we had a great time. So listen, I want to talk to you guys today because I've had a lot of requests about, Pastor Bob, should we obey the government and where do we draw the line? And that's what I wanted to talk about. So what I'm about to give you, I'm going to put some scriptures in here when we talk about a few things, but mostly this is my opinion. And my opinion certainly is not the gospel. So I just want you to listen to what I'm telling you. This is how I plan on handling things, and this is my opinion. And I want to make sure we get that straight right from the get-go. So listen. The United States government, the president and all of his staff, all the members of Congress, and all the members of the Senate, I don't care if it's Republican or Democrat, with very few exceptions, every one of them are absolutely corrupt to the core. Every one of them, with very few exceptions. These people go into office almost broke because they spend it all on their campaigns, but they go into office and within just a few years they're all multi-millionaires. And they get that way from taking bribes from, pharma, all the big pharma companies, the oil companies, and everybody else. People pay them to pass legislation that's going to benefit them. Everything about this government, everything, and people, I'm 68 years old and I've been looking at this government for a long time, everything is a lie. I don't care what it is, it's a lie. People, I studied 9/11. When 9/11 happened, I studied those photographs, especially the photographs of the Pentagon, and the Pentagon was not hit by a plane. You cannot take a plane and run into a building like that and not have any wreckage whatsoever. I looked at hundreds of photos all inside there, not one bit of aircraft wreckage, and they made a hole for the fuselage where probably the missile went through, but there were no holes for the engines. And then at ground zero, there was virtually no aircraft wreckage at all. They found one jet engine on the street a block or two away, and they investigated it, and that engine, say like it was a General Electric, well, both those planes that hit the World Trade Center used Pratt & Whitney. It was the wrong engine. The whole thing just stinks to high heaven. And you can go back as far as you want. The assassination of President Kennedy, total fantasy. The Warren Report, what they say happened. The 1969 moon landing, people, I have studied every photograph of that moon landing, and where that orbiter came down and landed on the moon, those guys are sitting right below them on a 55,000 thrust engine, and yet they're talking to Houston and you can't even hear the engine. And then when it shows the picture underneath, there's dust under that thing. It didn't even blow out the dust. I'm not buying it. Everything about this government and about this world that we're told is an absolute lie. This is what it says. Oh, and another thing about the moon landing, I saw recently within the last maybe couple years, I believe it was John Glenn, and I could be wrong, it could have been one of the other ones, but he was at a school and there was this little 10-year-old girl, just the most beautiful little thing ever. And he was sitting there and he didn't really want to be there. She looked up at him and she said, "How come we haven't been back to the moon?" And he looked at her, and obviously he didn't know he was being recorded, but he looked at her and the whole countenance of his face changed, and he said, "Listen, we never went the first time." That's what he told her. So listen, that's my opinion on this government. Now, who do we obey? People, listen. The police, all of our police, sheriffs, FBI, all of our law enforcement agencies, and our military, right? All of our police organizations and all of our military. You know, Jesus, Peter, and Paul were completely unconcerned about the Romans, right? They were completely unconcerned. Matter of fact, Peter helped him. He went to Cornelius' house and told him all about the Lord. And Jesus, he helped the centurion because they saw them as people, not as Romans. All right? You remember when the angel came into the jail at night, smacked Peter and said, "Hey, get up, put your clothes on, let's go." Peter got up and he followed the angel all the way out. He did what he was told by that angel. Peter knew darn good and well that those 16 soldiers that he had been talking to that were guarding him, he knew darn good and well that every one of them was going to be executed because he escaped. But it wasn't his problem. He did what God told him. He followed the angel. People, listen, this is why I'm telling you this. When things really get bad, and they're going to, don't even think that 2022 is going to be better than last year. It's going to be worse. We got more lockdowns coming. We got stuff coming that you can't even imagine. But I personally, me, I will never fire on any policeman, police agency, any kind of police, sheriff whatsoever. They come to get me, I will put down my arms and I will let them take me. Any United States soldier, Army, Air Force, Marines, Navy, doesn't matter. Any soldier, National Guard, I will never fire on a United States soldier. Because they're Americans just like us. If they come to my house, I will lay down my arms, put out my hands, and I will go with them. They can take me to a FEMA camp, and I'll preach the gospel in that FEMA camp till I'm martyred. I will not fire on a policeman or anyone in the United States military. I will not do that. And Romans 13:1, this is what Paul tells us. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God, and the powers that be are ordained by God. Now there's one exception to that rule. If UN troops, and people, there's already UN troops on American soil. They've been photographed on different bases, thousands of trucks, UN, they're already here. People, when UN soldiers start coming down and they start shooting at us, I will definitely shoot back at them. I don't care about UN soldiers. They got no business on our land. This is what it says in Matthew 22, verses 20 and 21. And he says unto them, whose image and superscription is this? Jesus asked them, they said, Lord, what about the Romans? Do we follow him? Do we pay taxes? He said, show me a coin. Show me a coin. Whose inscription is this? And they said unto him, Caesar's. He said unto them, render therefore unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and unto the God the things that are God. And that brings us to our last point, and that is this. Anything that goes against your conscience, regardless of what the government says, you are to stand against it. And the first thing is, of course, abortion. People, I know that our votes don't matter anymore. We're just another banana republic. But I will still go and I will always vote against the Democratic Party because I am voting against abortion. I do not believe in it. And one of these days, if they pass a law that says you can't talk about it, I'm going to talk about it anyway. Because when it comes to God, God supersedes all government. The next one is the jab. I'm not really going to go into that. You guys know how I feel. That every time I mention it, my video gets taken down or something along those lines. But listen, when I was in Saudi Arabia, right, during Desert Storm, one day they gave the entire base. I was at Taif, Air Force Base in Saudi Arabia. I don't know how many troops we had there, maybe 300. They came in and gave us a shot, some kind of a shot to fight off in case chemical weapons. I forget what the name of the shot was, but the very next day, half that base was down, sick. They had to make makeshift hospital beds in some of the tents. And I mean, literally half the base was down. And they told us the next day, oh, it's food poisoning. You guys all got food poisoning. Come on, come on. When I was in basic training back in 1972, they had a gun. It was an air gun. And they would give you your shots with an air gun. And after they did 2 or 3 people, the blood would just be dripping off the end of this thing, and they'd wipe it off, shoot the next guy, wipe it off, shoot the next guy. People, that turned out to be a hepatitis C machine. It was spreading hepatitis all down that line. My brother-in-law got hepatitis from it, and I know a lot of people who did. Listen, the government has been experimenting on us and on our military since day one. I do not trust this government any farther than I can throw them. Paul goes on to tell us in 2 Timothy 2:4, he says, no man at war entangles himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who has chosen him to be a soldier. And that's, Paul is telling us this in a nutshell. This is what he's saying. Listen, you're in God's army. You be about God's business and don't worry about the government. You be about God's business, don't worry about the government. And then Jesus tells us in Matthew 5:44, he says, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, and pray for them which despitefully use you. People, listen. I pray for this government. And this is how I pray. I say, Heavenly Father, I pray for President Biden and all of his staff. I pray for all the congressmen and congresswomen and all their staff. I pray for all the senators and all their staff. Heavenly Father, I pray that you would bless the individual. Father, I pray that each and every one of them would come to know you. I pray, Father, for the Christians that are there trying to witness. Bless them, Father. But Lord, I pray against their evil plans. Father, I pray that you will frustrate their plans and that they will come to nothing. People, that's how I pray for this government. So in a nutshell, this is the bottom line. And people, you're going to see troops in our streets before long. Don't worry about that. It's about to get very, very ugly. Forced vaccinations could very well be coming. We don't know. People, listen. I will not fire on any policeman, police agency, or anyone in the United States military. They come to get me, I will hold out my hands. I will go willingly to the FEMA camps, and I'll be martyred there. UN troops, that's another story. But I obey the government, and I do what the government tells me to do unless it's against my conscience. Then I do what I believe God would have me to do. Anyway, people, I hope that makes sense. And like I say, the bulk of that is my opinion, what I plan on doing. Leave your opinion in the comments below. Anyway, I just want to give you something to think about. Heaven or hell, you choose. Just remember, once you take your last breath, it's a done deal.